What's up, AfterBuzzers? We are so excited to be back with some more episodes of Botched. We have butts, we have boobs, we have nose jobs, we have it all, so stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
This is so perfect. This should be the theme song, right?
When like people walk out with their new bodies.
Exactly.
I found you.
That is a good point. That's something people are missing. We're missing a good strut walk every once in a while.
A little strut walk, right?
What's up, AfterBuzzers? Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Juliet, and I'm here with the lovely Abby. How you doing?
I'm good.
So I want to first of all ask you, what turned you on to Botch in terms of like the show? Like, what do you like about it? Why are you tuning in every week?
So, first of all, I love transformations. I'm a sucker for transformations, like before and afters. But I'm also a regional manager for a medical spa. So we don't do cosmetic surgery, but we do alter people's appearance with, injections and all that kind of stuff. So I'm very interested in like how you can make yourself feel more comfortable in your own skin, as long as it's, of course, healthy. But also, I feel like a lot of times people go and do things because it's cheaper at a specific place, and it's just like crazy to me how botched their bodies can be. So I just love, like, I don't know, watching the befores and then seeing Dr. Dubrow and Nassif like go at it. Plus their dynamic's amazing, and I watched them on Real Housewives, so that's like where I really got to know them. So I think it's a great show all the way around.
Yeah, it really is. They have a fun banter, and it's true that it's a theme that we'll see that comes up so often, where it's like, oh, I just wanted to save a little bit, and so I went to this doctor, and that's the number one lesson. Don't be cheap when it comes to these things.
It's your body.
You have to invest in it. It's your health, more importantly. And I want to start with the episode with Joey. So he is one of the first characters that we find. He is filled with piercings. He's so sparkly, and he has a very interesting butt. Personally, I had never seen anything like it. What about you?
I honestly was appalled.
Okay.
His butt was so hard.
It was so hard.
Like hard. Like you could.
It didn't move.
I actually wrote like a question down. I was like, would you rather have a big hard butt or a smaller like squishy butt? Like I would rather have a smaller squishy butt. Like I can't even imagine like just in general, but also in like a romantic situation. Like
there's no movement.
It's like hitting a brick wall. I don't know.
Exactly. I think during that whole pole dance class, I was actually kind of sad, and I'm like, you're pole dancing and your butt doesn't shake, and you're okay with that?
It was weird. And also when I think it was Dr. Dubrow, because he typically does more the body work, but when he was like feeling up his butt, it like did not move
at all.
Like
it was crazy. And but then you keep on thinking, you're like, okay, so this seems so unlikely. How does this guy sit down? Like, it seems so hard because they're rock solid.
Right.
And they were actually, once he met with the doctors, they were surprised that he was actually kind of lucky to be with that.
Yeah, not having movement and stuff like that. Because have you seen, like, if you Google butt implants and stuff like that, like, they can flip and they can do, like, all kinds of weird, nasty stuff. So, I mean, it looked good, but I think that's a person who's addicted to it, like whether they want to admit it or not. Like even with his nose, when he said that's like the main point of why he was on the show was for his nose. I was like, what's wrong with your nose?
Thank you. I was thinking the exact same thing, and it was just
I liked his nose.
Yeah, it was perfect. I mean, it seemed really great. There's no issue to it, but I want to talk about how you're saying you thought he's a little bit addicted. In the intro, when we're getting to know him, he's saying that he used to watch TV shows with his mom about plastic surgery. And I was like, oh, that's where that stemmed from.
Right.
And then I'm wondering, like, do you think, especially like when you see people coming into your work, do you think they just see it too much? It's too much on our phones. It's too much everywhere. Is that what people get addicted?
I feel like people are, because it is everywhere and it's so accessible now. It's not like, I think before it was like taboo almost to go and have work done. And now it's like, everyone's open about it. Like, I mean, not everyone's open about it, but to a certain extent, you have to be. Like, no one's going to believe that you did something naturally. Like, no one believes the Kardashians' butts are
Some
real.
people do, though, Abby. That's the thing. Some people really do.
Do they really, though?
I'm telling you that some people think that's normal.
And here's okay, I'm just going to put this out there. So there's a difference between... There's a very fine line between what's real and what's fake, right? So they could say that their butts are real because it is their fat. but they're having their fat transferred.
And there's no...
So it's real. It's their fat.
And technically that's not plastic surgery, right? Is it? So what's the difference between plastic surgery and cosmetic surgery?
Well, I think it's more, it's not plastic surgery because there would be nothing plastic or pseudo going into their body.
So no implants?
No. So it's basically a lipo and fat transfer, which is what they're, I mean, if you look at Khloe even after the baby, and like, don't get me, like, I love the Kardashians, but your butts are not naturally like that. They're just, they're not. And I mean, I guess we'll get to that when we go to the other girl later.
We'll talk more about butts, and because that is a big part of our show.
I'm so excited for the season. It's just so many butts. Because I feel like that's most popular right now too.
So many butts. So ultimately, Joey, we see him with his friends, as we're seeing him with the pole dancing, and he meets with the doctors, and the doctors decide they do not want to operate on him. Were you surprised by that decision?
No, because if it's not broken, like they said, if it's not broken, there's nothing to fix. But also, like, there are so many things that could go wrong. Why would you even want to go under again to get more of a booty than you already have? Like, so I get it. And they're probably doing some things that a lot of doctors won't do. They don't need the money. I think a lot of people, especially in smaller markets, will operate because
because they
money.
Want to. Well, the thing is that these are doctors that they're botched doctors. They're here to fix. So exactly, if it's not broken, why would they risk their reputation, go do something really risky when their whole brand is fixing? And
actually, it's funny you say reputation because I was thinking that when I was watching the episodes. I feel like these two doctors too are they're so high on the scale that, you know, they're the best.
The best of the
you're
best.
not going to see them, I think, typically doing these crazy surgeries. So a lot of times when someone wants to do something for more attention necessarily than just normal proportions, you're going to have to find a doctor that not necessarily is the best, but one who wants that attention and wants that money and all of those things. But I think a reputable doctor isn't going to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. And one character who really agreed with your point was Cristina. Yeah. And she even said, she was like, you guys are my last hope. If they say no to me, there's literally nowhere else I can go because they're the only people I trust.
Crazy.
I know. So she's a twin. She got into a pretty bad car accident and had a lot of complications, and at the time their concern was to make sure that she was alive, and they weren't really concerned about their face, which makes sense. But it's true that when it comes to your face, ultimately don't get me wrong, the most important is to be healthy, but it does affect you emotionally. Like, she says that she was depressed.
You know, like, when you have one of those days where you wake up and you just feel ugly. Like, you just...
Never. Yes, of course.
No, but you know what I'm talking about. Or, like, if my hair, if I go a little too long without, you know, doing my roots on my hair, or if I don't have a spray tan, or if just certain things, or if my eyebrows aren't, you know, shaped, it really can make you feel uncomfortable. And those are such minor things. I can't imagine having a physical defect, really, that was a defect. Her nose wasn't that way originally. And dealing with that, I mean, everyone sees that. Right. I get it.
And it's in the middle of your face too.
Yeah.
It's such a strong focal point. And so her nose is tilting a little bit, and she's seeing it shift. And I thought it was interesting because they were saying it was a really high risk surgery to fix it, and the percentage is just so small. But yet she was like, "I'm all in. Yeah. I'm all in. I just want to get this fixed." And I thought it was really sweet seeing her with her twin sister.
Yeah.
Do you know any twins?
I don't know any like in LA, but I knew some back home.
Right. I thought they had a cute dynamic. They dressed together. They were there
cute.
together. It was. But tell me more. Was it borderline a little weird?
I thought it was creepy.
Right.
I was a little. I mean, you're grown. Like, they weren't. It's cute when kids match. When you're a kid, it's creepy when you're matching and you're like in your mid-30s. The support thing, cool. All that makes sense, but
right, I have to agree. I felt the same way.
A little extra.
Yeah, I thought it was a little strange. So they come in a day of surgery dressed in the same exact matching outfits. I'm like, this is very strange. As you're saying, they're grown. And her sister explains that she can't be with her in surgery, so she's like physically showing her support. But I don't know. Get her a bracelet. Like, I don't know. I thought it was a little
too
strange.
Predictable for a twin. Like, oh, you think twin, and you're like, oh, they're gonna dress the same. Oh, they dress the same. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that, for me personally, I was thinking that was a producer move. I feel like the producers were like, oh, let's just do this. It'll be a fun segment. You agree? Yeah.
Totally.
And we kind of see this throughout. I'm pinpointing it more and more throughout the episodes. And
where you see a producer stepping in, kind of.
Yeah, okay. For sure.
Like, I feel like you know more about that than me, so I appreciate you pointing that out.
Well, it's always difficult because it's like I want to point these things out, but then I'm like, oh, I don't want to take away the magic. But in terms of like a structure, at least, that we see a lot is that we see often these characters who are, and I keep calling them characters, they're real people, but
they're characters.
They're characters as well, who have these terrible accidents, who are really botched and have these emotional stories, and then it's always paired with the one kind of quirky, kooky character, as we had in this episode, Joey, because and you kind of know they're not going to operate because if it's not broken, why fix it?
Right.
So that they're
showing like all of the spectrum, like from people who really need it to the crazies.
Exactly. As we go throughout, we talk about in the next episode, that was something, it's starting to get, that dynamic is getting a little repetitive for me. I'm starting to pinpoint, okay, they're going to operate here, they're not going to operate there.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
You have that sense too? And guys, if you agree with that, and if you are noticing any things behind the scenes, please make sure to go to iTunes and leave a comment and let us know your thoughts.
Or join us in our chat.
Of course, join us live. Thank you.
You know whose opinion, though, that I would love to hear on some of these?
Yes, tell me more.
Maria's. Mm-hmm. But I feel like she would have some very good insight, and I feel like if you all would like to hear more of her insight just on everyday topics, she has an amazing podcast. It's called Conversations with Maria Menounos, podcast edition, and it's hosted by Maria, our AfterBuzz founder, and drops every Friday on iTunes. Conversations with Maria Menounos features celebrity and influencer interviews along with secrets and tips on how to be better in all aspects of your life. Mm-hmm. I feel like some of these people could listen to her podcast before they want to go in for surgery.
Exactly.
From health and wellness to your career to relationships to finances and to all other aspects of your life, let Maria be the big sister that you have always wanted. Just go to iTunes. You can subscribe to Conversations with Maria Menounos for free. And be sure to rate and comment when you do, and let Maria know that the girls from Botched sent you there. Conversations with Maria Menounos, podcast edition. Check it out.
Please do. And make sure that, like she said, it's very important to leave a comment. It makes us look good and feel good. And she has so many great guests there and a lot of celebrities. And on this episode of Botched, we had another celebrity, a real housewife.
We did. Which was weird that they didn't know who she was. Do you think they really didn't? Because I feel like, don't they all kind of like meet together?
Right. Because
sometimes.
So Dr. Dubrow is married to a housewife. Right. Not the same, not from New Jersey.
Right.
But still, it's like.
They have mixers. They have to have Bravo mixers or something.
They have to. There's such a reality TV, like, sect, if you want to call them, or like,
it's like, I had no idea who she was.
No, you do. You're just trying to play off of it. Well, she walks in and she has major issues with her boobs. So once she had a divorce, she got the settlement money and got new boobs, which I thought was so funny.
That's so. I mean, I know she lives in Jersey, but that's so LA. Like, oh, okay, got rid of my man. Now I'm going to take the money and I'm going to go get some new boobs and find myself another man and life will be great.
Exactly. I just thought that was such a funny tidbit. But unfortunately, her other man passes. So her boyfriend of 13 years. And she's been having complications with her boobs for a while now. But she's just like, when you're going through grief and everything, and also her being a public figure, I feel like she would be judged no matter what, and especially if like you're mourning and you're getting your boobs done.
Right,
really,
right.
People are always judging. So.
Always, people always have something to say.
Always. And before she goes to meet with the doctors, we see her get a spray tan, and she sculpts her body and her boobs, especially to kind of hide some of the scarring and just to enhance certain parts of her shape, which I thought it was really interesting. And this is something very common, especially I feel like in LA, people will go spray tanning and will like literally sculpt their bodies. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of people in like middle America who don't really know that that look on Instagram and see these perfect people.
That are abs. It's painted on.
Exactly.
I want to do it. I've never done that. I do spray tan to feel thinner though, because you look thinner. You just look better with a little bit of a glow.
It's like, I went on a vacation, but for free. But not for free, but a lot cheaper.
For $49.95.
Were you surprised that she was so open with the fact that she does that, like in the middle of her living room, butt naked?
I feel like she was because she's kind of pegged as the villain more so, I feel like. So I thought on this show it was nice to see her not having a negative connotation where you actually got to know her. And I think it was, the housewives I feel like are very open. So no, I wasn't really surprised that she was naked. I was surprised that I guess you sign the consents to film before you know what's really wrong with you. But I know I might be jumping ahead, but that was disgusting.
Yeah, that's exactly my thought. So, this show in general, Botch, I'm always like, when there's the surgery parts, I have one eye closed. I'm like,
yeah.
I was
literally eating lunch watching it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be sick. I had to stop eating.
So her, when they go into surgery, she has a lot of cartilage that has because she has her tissue, her scar tissue has thinned so much. Her cartilage has.
Calcium capsules
have become massive, and they literally have to take it out, and you see them like taking out chunks and chunks. It was so disgusting.
Okay, and now I'm gonna get a little like, but when your boobs, right, they're soft,
right?
Okay, he used a tool that you scrape bone away with. Your soft boob has that hard of a deposit on it that he needs to literally use a very sharp knife to scrape stuff off of it. I can't even, I would think like you would feel that maybe from the outside or something.
Right, you would feel some type of mass, and we could hear the sound effects. It was like,
that was wild. Wild.
It was insane, and I agree. You were saying that, like, I don't know, that the fact that she was so open and put that on TV, I saw a little bit more than I bargained for personally. It was
I didn't,
too much.
You don't expect to see that white nasty stuff coming out. That was wild.
But it's true that finally they close her up and she seems all good.
She looked great after.
She looked great.
Her body's
good.
Popping.
Her body, she's invested in her body for sure.
She is. She looked great afterwards.
She looked great. And can I please talk about her amazing recovery room? I've never seen anything like this on Botch. I'm like, oh, it pays to be a real housewife. Right? The doctor comes to you in a beautiful hotel, it seemed like 5-star.
Yeah, well, I know that there are recovery centers, but I don't know if this was a hotel or if it was, but either way, you have a nurse there at your beck and call and you're just like, I'm fine. I'm like, yeah, I'd be fine too.
Right?
Are you kidding me?
She looks so good.
It was so great.
So comfortable, the whole thing. So overall at this episode, I think it was just we have successful surgeries. One surgery that didn't happen, which was Joey, as we mentioned. But overall, I think they did a really good job bringing back the show. We haven't seen it since late August. And so it really... It gave me everything I was craving. What about you? Were you disappointed at all?
I agree. If I have to cover my face on something, it's gold. It is gold.
It is gold. All right. So let's move on to the next episode. It's true that this show has been back for about 3 episodes now, so we're catching up. But moving forward, we'll only be doing 1 episode per show. So make sure to tune in for that. All righty. So... you teased a little bit at the beginning of this episode about the Kardashians and about what type of stuff goes in butts. So injections, fat, the whole ordeal.
Yep.
In this episode, we meet Patricia, and it's all about the big butt. I don't think I've seen a butt that big ever.
That was a fat ass. And her waist is so little. And because like sometimes you see people and you're like, there's no way that's real. Just because the difference is so crazy.
Right.
But nobody naturally has that. So like she had the fat transfer. No one naturally, without anyone touching them, has I mean, her waist was probably like a 30, 32. I mean, she's a bigger lady, but... Proportionate. So nobody has that tiny waist and that big of a trunk.
Right.
It was huge. What did they say? They said 2,100 cc's in each cheek, which...
Yeah, so she went the first time and got 1,200 and then in each, and then the second time and 900 additional.
So to give you an idea of like cc's.
No, please explain to us.
Okay, so a cc would be 1 cc would be like Juvederm, what you would fill your lips with, right? I don't know if you've seen. It's
like, is it liquid? Is it hard?
It's a tablespoon.
A tablespoon of liquid.
Of liquid. Actually, a little bit less. It's a little bit more than a teaspoon. Okay, so she has 2,100 in each
teaspoons.
Cheek. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's like you put 1 in your lips. I mean, obviously it's your butt, but that's a lot.
That is a lot. I would think, and they were even saying like sitting down must be an issue. And what I thought was most surprising is that on the side of just being this superwoman, that's her nickname she goes by.
She's cool.
She works in Detroit and works with heavy metal, and it's just like this one of the only women in her field. And it was just I felt like a contradictory, but she was really cool, and even the doctors agreed.
I really I think she actually is my favorite person that's been on the show so far because she was so real. and she just had this nice aura that you could feel even like through the like she was just a nice lady. But I feel like she was a great example because we all think that the way she appeared on her like in her like DJ life is the kind of person that cares about their appearance. But in reality, everyone, whether they want to admit it or whether they're comfortable admitting it or not, cares to a certain extent about how they appear. It might not be like, oh, I care about like my nose job, but you're gonna care about how your hair is done, or everyone has something.
Right. What I really enjoyed about her is that she had so many different skills, and so it made her given her so many different layers, and she was very unapologetic. She's like, I want to look like Nicki Minaj. I'm a superwoman, and I'm like, you know what? Go for it.
Right.
And so she goes to see the doctors because she wants even a bigger butt, and so her butt she likes how big it is, but she's saying it's kind of flat on the top because it's not round all the way, and she's trying to fix that.
It's called gravity. Of course it's gonna pull at an angle. Like it's huge.
I know. But this is funny because this made me actually think of you because you told her when she was like, no, I know it's big. You tell a girl she looks beautiful, and like even if there's one piece of hair that's not in the right place, she's not gonna feel beautiful.
It's so true.
It's very nitpicky, but it is very true.
Yeah,
it is very true. And even her friend in the consultation was saying, I don't think she needs it. Yep. She's fine.
I'm so glad they didn't go ahead with it.
Right. Were you surprised, or did you have an inclination that they wanted it?
I actually didn't know because I feel like that wouldn't be a huge change. But when he was going through all of the issues that could arise from just having that much fat with your arteries and everything, that was a really good point that I guess we don't think about. Whether you're 300 pounds and it's all in your butt or it's on your waist, like that still is going to have some effect negatively on your body.
Right. So yeah, I think ultimately she falls into that group of characters that's kind of quirky, that doesn't really need any. She's not really botched. Yeah. She's by choice looks the way that she does, and hopefully she stays that way. And I really appreciate it because they seem, even the doctors mentioned that she seems to be really listening to what we're saying, because often you see these characters who just want bigger, more, and the doctors are saying, no, we cannot. And you can tell that no matter what, they're going to do something.
They're going to go somewhere else, right?
And risk their health,
right?
Which is so insane because the fact that, would you do anything that would harm your health and knowing it would make you look better?
What made me think about that was, who was it that made me think about that? Oh, I think it was Krystal on this episode. That's where I started thinking about where do you draw the line? Because you don't know. To me, is having a bigger chest worth potentially dying?
Right.
Or no, it really isn't.
But at the end of the day, I mean, surgery is surgery. There is always that small percentage.
Right.
Even though you can go to the best doctor and have the best circumstances.
Look at Kanye's mom.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know. I'm just so on the fence. I don't know if I could really go under for surgery.
Right.
For something that I didn't need.
Exactly. And especially as you're mentioning nowadays, you can just inject so many things in so many different places. Going under the knife is such a huge risk that I just think we need to avoid it. It's important to avoid. So another character is Mr. Michael, 32, flat nose. So for our iTunes listener, Abby's making the best face.
The grossest thing. My stomach was so upset. And it's how many times are y'all going to poke his nose during the episode? That's what I want to we got it. We got it.
So his nose would go flat, completely
and
flat to the right, to the left. And he was wiggling
it side to side. I was like, and I'm just going to be honest.
Go for it.
His girlfriend's an asshole.
She was very particular. I was just like, what are you? It seemed to me that she wanted her 15 minutes of fame. She wanted to tell him what to do, what to wear, who to eat, who to talk to. Very controlling.
She was a bimbo and she was an asshole. I'm so sorry, but anyone that you fall in love with, and then their nose is that way, and they're not happy with it. Cool, I'm all about you being get the surgery done. But when you're on live TV and you're laughing and poking someone's nose, when you know that that's their insecurity, why are you doing that?
I know
that was even if the producer told me go poke his nose, I'm gonna be like, no.
Right, for the man that you love, you think you'd be more sensitive.
Why would I point out your flaw? Even though that's obviously the whole point of the show, I don't need to make a point to touch your nose and show you how fucked up it is. Like, you know it is. That's why we're on the show. I don't need to go that step further. So I didn't... Sorry, I'm getting so heated because it just made me so angry.
It did. I have to say that, like, that whole dynamic, you could tell the producers were really pushing that couple. They were pushing the whole engagement aspect. Yep. But it was just...
And that was the wackest engagement I've ever seen in my life. It looked so forced.
No effort.
If anyone ever proposed to me in front of my parents and their parents in a backyard and then goes, let's go eat, 2 seconds out, no, not buying it, not buying it.
He probably didn't even make a reservation. He was trying to figure out where to go. Like, it was so unplanned.
I think so weird.
To me, it seemed like he was like, okay, fine, producers, get what you want, get that shot, I'm done. I just want to shut this down.
Right. But then it was like, they didn't even like, it was just like, let's go eat.
Right. Well, do you think, apart from the fact that if you touched his nose and went in whichever direction, when no one was touching it, do you think his nose was that messed up?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was?
Yeah, when you looked at it head on, it like came out really far here.
So to the sides, you're saying?
And then it like was, it was weird. It was a weird nose.
It was definitely a weird nose, but I didn't think, I don't know. I think
he looked so much better with it fixed.
He did. Do you think he looked like Tom Brady? Because his girlfriend was like, I want him to look like Tom Brady.
I bet he wants you to look like Giselle, but that will never happen. Kidding. But no, he looked so much better with his nose. He did.
He did. And he seemed so much happier. And, so think what you may of their relationship. What I thought was very sweet is that, the surgery is successful.
Right.
And he, post-op, is just really happy. And he was saying, I can now ask her to marry me because I feel like I'm the best version of myself. And I didn't want to ask her to be my wife without being the best version of myself. Right. I'm like, that's very sweet. That's a sweet sentiment.
It is.
But I don't know how. Do we think this relationship is going to last? No.
Because he looks good now. He's going to go find somebody else.
Yeah, someone maybe a little
now
kinder.
And not even because he looks better, but because I feel like self-confidence is everything. Mm-hmm. And if you're not a confident person, they can sense that.
Right.
So you probably weren't generating the type of attention that you maybe wanted because you didn't feel great about yourself. But now that you feel good about yourself, I think you can find somebody who is attracted to that energy more so than physically what you look like.
Agreed. And I think you're right. And I think the girlfriend seemed very nitpicky and making fun. And she was saying that she at one point thought that he had fluid coming out of him. So she like Googled it and seemed to be pushing this. And I feel like maybe he didn't need the extra push to get it done, but there's also a reason why he waited so many years not to get it done. And he's been like this his whole life. I feel like she was butting in too much for my liking. Yeah. I don't know if he would have ultimately done it. Granted, I think he is happier now, but I think he'd been just fine not getting it done.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my point. All right. Another one that was so gruesome was Krystal. She had her boobs and her tummy tuck that was so nasty. It was the worst. So
her belly button's gonna haunt me. That black belly button.
It was So she got a tummy tuck, and when she woke up from surgery, it was just she is the botched character. She is botched beyond botched, like crazy scarring. If you're saying black and like some fluid,
she had gangrene. Like, how do you get that?
Oh, it was crazy. She said that she woke up from surgery and her whole body was wrapped.
Do you know what's funny though? When we were watching this, I was kind of, especially with the other, what was the character in the first, Joey? Mm-hmm. I was like, how are these people affording this? Because like, it's expensive. Like,
well, that's the thing
but I think she sued. She had to have sued that doctor.
I hope she did. I really hope she did. They didn't really mention that, which is something I would like to see more of, like maybe more of a legal aspect of like, because we hear all these crazy stories about these doctors doing all these crazy stuff. Like, I want to know what legal actions can you take, is it possible or not. But she was an example of someone who wanted to get stuff done. So she had a baby when she was 15 and then was always insecure about her stretch marks. She said that her doctor said she could do payments, which I don't really know. Is that really a thing when it comes to plastic surgery?
So yeah, you can do like credit. Mm-hmm. It's
like a medical
cosmetic credit. So you make payment plans, like it's payment through a company, like a credit card,
like an agency. It's not your doctor directly.
It wouldn't be something like a doctor's never going to be like, yeah, let me perform a $12,000 procedure. You can pay me $7,000 and then I trust you to pay me the rest. Like, no, it doesn't work that way.
So
you
that's
get
a red
payment
flag.
up front. Yeah. And then you'll do the surgery. So he was clearly desperate for money.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Well, we come to find out that this doctor that operated on her had a seizure, stopped practicing. A stroke, stopped practicing, and then for her, practice again.
She knew this, too, before going under with him, so shame on you.
She was trying to be cheap, I'm telling you.
Shame on you for putting yourself in that situation. Like, wear a one piece over that.
Yeah, I know.
I feel sorry because nobody should have that done to their body, but to a certain point, you're held responsible for what you... Who does that?
I know. It's crazy, and it's never a good sign that, okay, as viewers, we're like, okay, we get kind of grossed out because we're not used to seeing this. The fact that the doctors were saying that they were nauseated by these pictures and they've seen the craziest of the craziest, they performed the craziest of the craziest, that's probably the worst sign ever I've ever seen. Ugh. And they were even mentioning that typical after 8 hours or surgeries are at high risk, and hers was, how much was it? 11. That's crazy. Ugh.
But she looked banging at the end.
At the end, overall successful story. She was running around. And can we talk about how it was probably like the worst, coldest, rainiest day?
Horrible.
There's
and
no
she's
one
like,
on the beach.
In my kimono.
All her friends are fully clothed. And they're like, okay, we're doing this for the cameras.
She's like, yeah, mommy. I was like, oh my God, she's freezing. She's freezing.
It's freezing. So let's talk about our last episode real quick, and then we're going to get to a really fun segment that you have for us, which is we're going to tackle some celebrities and the work that they have done. But really quick, the third episode was kind of the weakest for me. Overall, what do you think?
I was disappointed in the third one. I was.
Yeah, because it was just a little bit slower. We didn't really have a quirky character. We had no Joey. We didn't have any crazy butts. So we had this Avery, who used to be a gay man and now is transgender, and loves Mariah Carey. I'm foreign, sorry.
You're fine.
And
that's a great go-to line, though. I'm foreign.
Thank you. So she's gotten a lot of stuff done, which was successful. However, she started becoming a little bit cheaper towards the end and asked her friend to perform, a non-certified friend. Tell me.
I'm sorry. I did not even mean to cut you off.
No.
I feel like when you're transitioning, there are so many things that need to be done and so many expenses that need to be done. And that is where people fall into cutting corners because, I mean, I don't even know the price of like a gender reassignment surgery. I don't know any of that.
A fortune, probably.
A fortune. Steroids. Okay, whether you're a male or female, to go the opposite way, to stop hair growth, to start hair growth in places that you wouldn't normally. I mean, all of those things are so expensive. So especially in, I feel like the trans community, everyone's very comfortable with just kind of winging it,
right?
Because they're so desperate to find, to physically be where their identity is,
right?
So that it's very common.
And I wonder, is it possible also because they have to have such intense surgeries that take a lot of time, that just are big procedures, that when it comes to like something maybe a little bit smaller, which is like silicone and injections, they're like, oh, that's nothing, we can handle that.
Which honestly, I don't know what they're talking about with necessarily silicone injections. So I know like Sculptura is an injection. I would have to look it up to see if that is maybe what they're talking about. But it's something that actually grows once it's injected into you. So it's a permanent filler. And a lot of times now that's what they're putting in the butt as well. Instead of fat transfer or whatever, it's a bunch of syringes that go into your butt, and it's going to grab on to the muscle and the fat and grow from that point. So yeah, that's very common.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think one thing that's not common is having your girlfriend perform any kind of cosmetic surgery.
Go to a professional.
Do not cut corners. Ugh. Well, thankfully, though, she had a successful surgery.
Yeah, it looked great.
It looked great. They promised her to only 20%. They said that it'd be probably maybe 20% improvement, and it was
way better.
It was way better than that. Which I think that sometimes it's good to lower expectations.
With a real professional, they're gonna undershoot what they're gonna do. Whether someone who doesn't know what they're doing, they're gonna be like, yeah, 100%. Don't trust anyone that says that.
Exactly.
Ever.
So then we had Tristan, who literally had no butt. I had never seen anything like it.
Neither did the doctors.
Yeah, neither did the doctors, which is always like, ooh, that's even higher risk if it's not a normal thing.
Right.
This was kind of a sad story for me. I felt bad. What about you?
I felt awful, but at the same time, I was very disappointed in his mother.
Oh, why is that? Because she was pushing him to do it?
No, I think she should have pushed him more.
To do it
because, one, it's affecting him socially. He's not going on dates. He's not putting...
though. He said he was. But they're... Okay.
Do you think he's really going to have sex with somebody? And I'm just being blunt. He doesn't have a butt. Do you think... or if he does, do you think he's going to feel as comfortable? Do you think... I don't think his lifestyle... You can tell he's uncomfortable about it. He kept telling... He was calling himself blatantly ugly.
Right.
So he clearly is not happy with that, right? I understand he's scared. He has PTSD from all the surgeries of his cancer, and this isn't maybe a necessary one, but it is almost necessary because he can't even sit for long periods of time.
Right.
He can't travel. He can't. He's very restricted.
He's very restricted, and it's true that it seemed. Well, he goes in and they just give him different options, and all of them have significant risks. But it's true that it seemed that he could have gone there, but he just wasn't ready. So I think if you're not ready, you're just not ready. Don't do it.
Right.
But there was a segment that did talk about how they asked him if this affected him romantically, and he was like, "No, I'm able." Like he said that he was able to have sex, and he does have sex, but maybe he's.
Did I miss that?
Maybe, but you know what? I thought I thought that you're more so. Another point that we can make is that maybe he is having sex, but there's no like intimacy in terms of like relationship. That maybe it's just people are. It's a weird fetish because it's out of the ordinary. That's something that's possible too. I don't know. But I just respected the fact that he was like, no, I'm going to take a minute and think about it because a lot of people don't when they really should.
They jump into it rather than really thinking it through. True.
Exactly.
True.
Do you think our last character, Kelsey, jumped in it without really thinking about it too much?
Oh my God. She's in her 20s and her mom was like way too hyped up on grandkids.
She really was. But the reason why her mom was so she has a condition that makes her just it's gonna be harder for her to conceive. So I think that's why her mom is extra pressuring her. But come on,
that's not healthy though to pressure. I mean, your kid doesn't even have a consistent boyfriend. Why are you already talking about children? Like you need to learn
to back off.
To like just and if it's not meant to have kids, she's not meant to have kids. Like just take a breath. But oh my God, that poor girl.
I know. So she's been going through so much. So these like very tough periods and a lot on her health. And at the age of 13, and she always felt like she wasn't like had control of herself as a woman. So she's like, okay, my boobs, I'll take control of that. And that doesn't work. Right. So it's so saddening. But this was very surprising for the doctors because when they finally went in to go fix her boobs, there's two different types of ways breast implants are. They're over the muscle or under the muscle. Right. And in this case, it was one of each.
No, that was the other girl.
Oh, apologies.
That was the one with the botched tummy.
With the botched tummy.
With the guy who had the stroke. Yeah. But this girl, I think she almost had tubular, she said, or something.
She does, you're right. So she had a double bubble.
Oh, yeah.
Double bubble. Yeah. So what happens is...
So many boobs.
So many boobs.
Can't keep them straight.
She had a double bubble, meaning that literally when you would see her boobs, it seemed like there's a dent in between the two, and as if there was just a boob and like an elastic holding it back. Which
was her muscle.
It was her muscle. Ugh.
And some people really aren't made to have huge boobs.
That's true. You have to know about your frame.
Right.
It's very important to...
And your muscle structure. Some people really just can't hold huge boobs.
Right. But at the end, you know what? She looked so good.
Fantastic. She looked great in that dress.
And she, I think, just has so much confidence now. And she's going to take on the world, hopefully date, hopefully going to grow some balls and tell her mom to back off. Right. And let her just have fun.
Well, the way they were talking about her during the whole thing, I was like, oh, she must be like, in her mid-30s. And she's like, I can't wait. Like, I recaptured my 20s. And I'm like...
And she's in her early 20s, too.
Yeah. Calm down, Mom.
Yeah. One thing that I thought was cute too, she was saying that Dr. Dubrow was really hot. And
I know, that was hilarious. He is though, like in a weird way. I think it's his personality. He's got a great personality.
He does, and we got to see a lot more of him and Dr. Nassif because they were missing. I think they were missing that funny character, so they had to fill in moments of them having like fun banter. Right. And he pulls out a machine. He goes, "My wife gave me this. It's to measure fatness." And they both like go in the little room and get naked. I was surprised that Dr. Dubrow kind of has like some abs on him.
Ripped. He is 11.8% body fat. That's great, especially for somebody his age. But Paul,
Dr.
when
Nassif?
they said like 18%, I was like, I think he's a little more. But when you look at his whole body, it's really just the fat's concentrated like in his gut. Like his legs look great, his arms look great. Like
I was surprised too. He has a pretty big gut, but once he flexed those arm muscles, I was like,
a pretty big gut.
when he flexed those arm muscles, I'm like, oh, those are big as well.
Yeah.
But I think personally, I think Dr. Nassif, Dr. Dubrow wins this for me.
100% wins. 110%.
Well, that's kind of it for our recap of the first 3 episodes of this. We're still in season 4.
Part 2.
And so next week we'll talk a little bit more about more surgeries, more things, more booze, more all of it. But before we head out, I want to get to a fun segment that Abby has prepared for us, which is a celebrity
botched.
So
we're going to talk about, really quick, Renee Zellweger. I think it shall pop up on your screen. We have a before and after from her, which I think it's botched more in the sense because she looks nothing like herself. It's not even like it's a better version or something was, accentuated. She looks like a completely different human.
Right. It's if you see the after picture, you're like, oh, this is me, lovely woman, whatever. But when you see them next to each other, you're like, wait, how? They don't even look related to me.
No. And her eyes are so creepy. How they went from like they're a completely different shape.
Right. They are. Well, so do you know what she has had done?
I honestly don't. I'm thinking she probably did some type of not full facelift, but like a brow lift.
Right.
Where her forehead, because if you look, it really isn't that different other than her eyes are like way more open. And
her face also doesn't, she probably has Botox, do you think? Because it's not really moving much.
Her face never moves. She has a ton of Botox, for sure a ton of Botox. But filler-wise, I think she probably has a little bit in her cheeks, but...
So for people at home, what's the difference between Botox and...
So Botox is not a filler.
Okay. What's a filler?
That's the biggest misconception, especially people that come in, they're like, I don't want to look like those crazy people. I'm like... You will not. The only thing Botox will do is freeze you. It's not going to like give you huge cheeks or a huge like jowl, which is what is that's
so you just
filler.
Don't move. It just doesn't allow you.
So what it does is it paralyzes your muscle, which is going to restrict your movement to make less wrinkles, which then in turn is going to give you less permanent wrinkles in your skin because the muscles aren't moving in those directions. So that's really all it is.
And filler is it's to enhance
filler actually
areas.
Is an injection, so a gel-like substance is being put into your face. So that's where you would get more cheek, or you can fill pretty much anywhere in your face. But when people have messed up faces, it's because they've done either too much filler in the wrong areas, and we can get into it in another episode.
Okay. Well, we will definitely next week because I want to get more inside of Abby's brain and figure out what is that goes behind the scenes of all this cosmetic world of ours. But guys, thank you so much for sticking in with us. Please go to iTunes and leave us a comment. Tell us what you thought about all the characters we discussed today. Tell us about what you would like us to discuss, any special segments that we can cover, any questions that you might have. We are here to help you out. So until next week, Abby, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on all my social media, Abigail _AF.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram at Bonjour with Juliet. Abby, are you doing any other shows on AfterBuzz? Empire?
Empire, but now it's on hiatus or break. It's on a break. We just finished up yesterday.
Okay.
But you can also check out my podcast, OGAF, where we talk about pop culture.
Okay, well, very, very neat. Until next time, guys, take care.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.